Yo, salamu alaikum. It's a third party podcast, season 2, episode 10 with Husain Abdullah.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Husain Abdullah, former NFL player and now author of Mecca to Medina 100 Personal Reflections on Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the Hijrah journey. And I'm here with the third party podcast.
Yo, assalamu alaikum. It's a third party podcast, and I am Muslim Kason, aka the Muslim Boxer, aka Mr. Nightquill, aka Mr. 1209 KOs, and I'm here with my co-host Rod DeVoe.
You Rod DeVoe, man, third party podcast, season 2, episode 10.
Yes, sir.
Hey man, we got a dope one, man. We got Husain Abdullah, former NFL player. He's a native of LA, played 7 seasons in the NFL. Has a bachelor's from Washington State and a master's from SMU. Husain is a serial entrepreneur, keynote speaker, executive coach, and mentor to many. And now with his first book, Mecca to Medina, 100 Personal Reflections on the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he's an author. I also want to add that he is a husband and father.
Alhamdulillah.
You're originally from out the West Coast.
Originally born in LA, raised in Pomona, and I always make that distinction because, LA in the 80s was wild. One starts with the police brutality,
Right.
and then the gang violence,
Right.
and then the crack flooding our streets pushed a lot of people to the Inland Empire to hopefully find better. My parents and other people, they went out to Pomona, California,
Right.
and now it's known as the IE, but it was same thing was over there too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Was this a black movement or a Muslim movement?
Both. Both. And so you've seen a lot of people get out of there. And for the people who stayed, our age range, I'm turning 39 this Saturday. So the 80s babies, we was born on the front lines. And so a lot of those people who grew up then, dead, in jail, strung out, no advanced, no higher education, just kind of got caught in the system, got caught in a war that we inherited and we didn't even know what was getting ourselves into. And so, our parents kind of grew up trying to protect us from that. And so there was people who made it, people who didn't make it. Yeah, so I think the Muslims, and especially the black Muslims, were more conscious and aware of what was going on. And so they took extra precautions to, alhamdulillah, give us the life that we had.
What was it like growing up, though, inside your home, inside in your household? What was that like?
Man, inside the house, it was on point. So my parents had got a divorce when I was young.
Okay.
So I was raised by my step-pops, man, a lot of mercy on him. He passed away. And it's funny because my mom married him while he was still in prison. So as a little kid, and she taking all of us. So as a little kid, we going into Chino Pen to go meet this guy who's about to be our dad.
Wow.
So
that's an introduction.
What is going on here?
Right.
That's your pops. No, it's not.
How old were you?
I was probably 6.
So you remember the feeling you had?
Bro, I remember being checked in, being patted down, or us trying to take a cake and then poking holes in the cake to make sure we're not smuggling in there. I remember all of that.
Wow.
I remember fighting other kids on the yard because it was it's just kind of what it was, right? So when Bouchante came home, man, a lot of mercy on him, man, he instilled just it was like work. Because his whole thing was he didn't want us to end up like the way he got caught and the way other kids was getting caught. So, man, it was Islam, it was discipline, it was high character, it was education,
Yes,
it was
sir, no,
athletics. Oh, what? You better say yes, sir. If you don't say yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am, oh yeah, that's a whooping. You get no punishment. It's coming.
I love it. Now, did he put you in Islamic schools?
Because we moved all the way out to Pomona, there kind of almost was no Islamic school. So we were actually kind of cut off from the Muslim community. So we kind of grew up in our house is what I kind of like to say. Because then there's probably only 2 or 3 Muslim families in Pomona. And then when we went to the immigrant masjid, most people know the story. You get up there, they ain't really fooling with us.
Right.
No.
And so we kind of faced that. So I ain't like going to the masjid when I was a kid because I didn't I'm not Muslim enough to be around y'all. Like, what is this? What's this racism going on? So we really kind of grew up in the house, and like but they really instilled and taught the deen in its purest fashion, and that's what I really appreciate, regardless of what was going on outside.
As far as your stepfather, did you ever find out how he came to find Islam?
In prison, man, because he, his life was, his parents got divorced and they was out doing all kind of stuff. So at 12 years old, he's raising his brothers and sisters.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, it's wild. So he's raising his brothers and sisters. And so now he's not only parenting them as a kid, but then also he's hustling in the streets to try to feed them.
You got to make some money.
Eventually, you get caught.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So then when he gets in prison again, reading, understanding, and Islam in the Black community used to have it was like a very high honor, right? We kind of lost that a little bit, but it was a very high honor. And so when he embraced Islam, he actually became Amir of the pen. And so alhamdulillah, beautiful brother. When I first met him in my childhood, I ain't like him. I was just being real, right?
You wasn't banging with him.
Yeah, my pops. So we met with resistance. Right. But the more I've grown in age, I come to appreciate him. Like, he married my mother when she had 6 children.
Wow.
Right. And he had 4 of his own coming out.
Right.
And he's putting everything together at 30 years old.
That's amazing.
Better man than me.
Coming out of prison.
Coming out of pen.
How long
and you married, and then now you got to take care of 10 children.
10 children.
10. His first job coming out was a newspaper out.
Wow.
So when you talk about halal hustle, like I've seen it like built, and still to this day, like that's what I carry. So I'm beyond grateful for him. I pray for him all the time. I ask for forgiveness for all the trouble that I gave him.
You was a knucklehead?
I used to be the black sheep. It's kind of hard to see now. People don't see that, but yeah, once upon a time.
I'm trying to figure that out.
I'm like, huh?
Once upon a time, I was the black sheep. I kind of just ask forgiveness for those days and leave them. If you didn't know me from 01 to 05, we just don't talk about it.
So when you say black sheep, though, like what kind? Like you getting in trouble? You was just like
questioning
talking back,
everything.
disrespect. Like
I was kind of living out my name in the wrong way, because Husain radiallahu anhu, he stood up for truth, he stood up for justice, and he stood up against tyranny. So let's say I used to just redirect that in the wrong way, standing up for some of the wrong things inside the house.
And then your last name is Abdullah, slave of Allah. So you really got to live up to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Ooh, absolutely.
You have to live up to that.
So it's interesting when you talk about people that was raised during that time, like Muslims that was raised during that time, because it was a real revolutionary spirit. It was a lot of discipline.
Yep.
Those things were needed, though.
Yep, absolutely.
To like you said, navigate.
Absolutely.
The 80s, the crack epidemic, the crime.
Yep.
Did you see love in your house?
So love was beautiful, man. There was moments where we just had fun, and I think a lot of the loving moments came through sports. Right. Even though I used to like kind of go at it with my step pops, man, I used to love that he used to drive us 45 minutes just to practice and back. And he didn't put us with the local football team. We didn't play for the Pomona Steelers. We went out to Chino because there was a coach there who was getting people scholarships. And so he was like, I want to take them over there.
Right.
So to me, that's love.
Right.
And then everybody showing up to my games, that's love. And then everybody cheering me on, that's love. And so there was just different moments where just like love, appreciation, even around prayer, even around reading the Quran. There was like, we would read the Quran, and then there would be a moment where they kind of like reflect and expand upon a certain ayat or a hadith. And it was just like, it was just chill. So in our household, it was like, again, there was discipline, but there was love. But again, when you're surrounded by chaos.
So let me ask you this. So is this you looking back and feeling that? Or were you in the moment?
No. In the moment?
Yeah.
Man. Man, you want to talk about a kid feeling unloved, a kid not knowing if he's going to make it to C18, a kid not knowing where he belongs and where he fits. When you don't have hope, when you don't have love, when you feel there is no purpose, when you start to identify that no matter what I do, there's a trap set up somewhere.
Right.
And I'm seeing all this happening to uncles. I see it happening to older brothers, people who grew up, older classmates or whatever it may be. So when you see all that, and then you just get to a point where you're just like, F it. If this is what it is, this is what it is. Kind of just start living destructive. And so, alhamdulillah, I'm just grateful that Allah protected me even that figuring that out phase is what I call it.
You had 12 siblings.
Yeah, so it's 8 boys, 4 girls.
Where you fall in?
I bat cleanup. I'm number 4.
You can tell sport like got back clean. Did you play other sports growing up, or was it just football?
So we played in the streets, everything. Right. In the house, we played everything.
Right.
But we could only afford one.
Right. Who got you into the football?
My pop, my step pop. Yeah, he did.
Now, was it y'all was throwing the ball and he saw you run a route, or like what was it?
No, so the one coach, he came by the shop. So my step pops, he went from the newspaper route to being able to afford a lawnmower, a weed whacker, some tools, and then now we landscaping, to being able to buy oils and incense, to be able to buy paint, different things. So then now we just halal hustling. So there was a guy, his name was Coach Parms. He used to come by the shop and buy the oils. And his son was like an all-star. He was like, man, you got all these sons, you should put them in football. Right. So then it was like, okay, my stepfather didn't really know much about football, but he was like, okay. So then he said, hey, who wants to play football? So we didn't want to play. So the first year, my older brother Boss played. So Boss was kind of the guinea pig. So we was just kind of like, he can go do it. Like me and Hamza was kind of nervous. Right. We seen like just the pageantry of sports, like everybody in the uniforms and the shoulder pads, the helmets. People cheering, they screaming your name when you score a touchdown. The pizza parties, they getting trophies, and we just sitting there like, man, that looked fun. Right. So the next year came around, he's like, who want to play football? Me and Hamza was like, let's go. And so we all signed up.
Sometimes it feels like, or you hear statements like Black families overvalue sports. I'm involved in youth sports in a way. How do you feel about that statement or stereotype, like Black families overvalue sports?
I think people who say stuff like that, well, no, let me be politically correct on this one, because it is a double-edged sword. Okay. So on one hand, we don't have any rites of passage in our society or culture. The closest thing we do have is sports, to be able to teach things like accountability or discipline or teamwork, the different adversities that you have to overcome, wins and losses, being able to do things when you don't feel like it, learning how to take command, right? There's so many different things that sports does that even if you don't make it to the highest level, you become a better human being through sports, right? Everybody should play sports. I don't care who you are, and not just individual sports, but team sports. Everybody should play, right? Then on the flip side, man, there are some people who they think their kid is their lottery ticket, and they're going to push everything into sports. They don't care about their education. They don't even care about they don't even care about the kid. Right. They're trying to live out their dreams through the kid. Right. And so, and I've seen it because, my son, I just put him in everything. Now he's more football focused, but like in basketball, when we were playing basketball, it's ugly, man. That AAU scene is ugly. Yeah. I'm talking about we was at it's a pickup game. Yeah. It's a pickup game.
Mom's cussing people out.
A kid turns the ball over. His dad takes his belt off out the stand and takes him to the back. I'm like, whoa, not for this. Yeah. This too much, right? So again, like you see, like when people are putting all their eggs into that basket, it's like now you're misusing sports, right? Because I think sports is, I think it's beneficial. I think it's a necessity, but there are people who do way too much.
Just from my interactions, coaching and being involved, I have multiple kids that play sports. I think that, like you said, it's a great teacher. Yep. It's rules, but it's so many different variables that you can't really predict everything, but it's still rules. But when I look across the landscape and I say who invests the most in sports, we don't even have the resources, to invest the way others invest. Absolutely. So I kind of challenge that sometimes when I hear that people like, oh, Black people, you know, like there's plenty of kids that I've coached that's not getting private lessons. They not, you know, they not spending this. They're not able to travel here or travel there or go to certain tournaments. Just when you look at who invest and who drive and who benefit, it's just like ironic that sometimes we say that Black people over invest in sports. But I do agree that for, you know, I feel how you feel about like everybody should play, but that's, you know, everybody's not going to. But I just feel like it's so many teachable moments, and it's such a connection point for a parent to a kid. If like, you know, it's just so many different lessons and car rides, and you know.
At what age did you really start appreciating like what your pops did for you and all of that time?
During it. So it's kind of like how Allah says, like with difficulty there's ease. Even though I'm being a knucklehead, I see that I'm different than everybody else. I see that even though like I'm doing dumb stuff, there's a certain boundary I'm not going to cross. Because I know what that boundary is, because I've been taught the boundary. Some kids, they was out of bounds and they didn't even know they was out of bounds. They just flat out gone, right? So I was grateful to at least know, hey man, that's a boundary. Don't do that. You can do all these, but don't do that one.
How did being a Muslim help?
So that's where my mother really comes in. Like she only talked about the Quran. That's it. Only talked about the Quran, only talked about the Ahadith. And so it started getting to the point to where like, cause you know, after a while, I'm not going to whoop you. You're bigger than her, right? So she pinch you, you laughing at her. Oh, come on, Omi, leave me alone. You know what I mean? It's not going to do anything. So she just and she says, Allah saw you. It's like,
that was my mom. That was like, my mom too.
And I'm just sitting there like, dang. So then now it's different. So now, you know, I may not be in eyesight or earshot of my parents. So then now I want to run amok. But then now I'm like, let me think twice about this before I do something. And so that's where kind of the spiritual nature of it all really started to come in play. And then especially now when I go to college, then now, you know, college is that point to where now you're out of the house and you have to define belief for yourself. Am I really a Muslim? There's nobody waking me up to pray Fajr. Like, am I going to get up? Am I going to read the Quran like we used to do? Or am I just going to be like, oh, I missed the salat. Dang. Am I gonna make that up? There's no one who knows if I'm fasting or not.
Right.
Like I can eat right now because ain't nobody gonna say anything. And then that's when I really went on that journey for myself and really was like, no, this is a blessing.
You were born Muslim.
Yep.
Like, what's the defining moment where you feel like I really chose this life? Like I'm choosing to be all the way in.
Really, it's every day.
Okay.
Right? Because a Muslim is someone who submits their will to Allah. And so the way I tell my children is in a given situation, there's what I want to do. There's what Allah wants me to do. I weigh them out. And when I choose what Allah wants me to do, I submit to my will because I want to do something different.
Right.
And so every day we have choice.
Right.
Every day we can behave in a certain way or not. So as I started to realize that, just kind of like day over day, I was just trying to choose to do the right things. And again, I was doing stuff that I had no business doing. And that's when I got to go look at myself in the mirror like, hey man, I'm self-destruction in my own life. So if I want to have a good relationship with Allah, I can't be asking for this and that, but I'm being disobedient to him. And at first it was just out of disobedience. But now the way I look at it is like, I want to earn Allah's love. Like I love Allah more than anything else because that's the only thing that's everlasting. Absolutely. People come and they go, material comes and it goes, money comes and it goes, notoriety comes and it goes. The only thing that's constant is God. That's it. And so therefore, I don't want to mess that up. So my obedience is out of divine love. Like before you're just doing it, trying to follow the rules, but now, there's nothing greater than doing something that's pleasing to Allah and getting that feeling that Allah is pleased with you. So there's nothing better than that. I never had a problem that the Prophet Muhammad SAW was the final messenger because you read the Quran and there's a series of messengers and this is the last revelation. That was the easy part. Right. The difficult part was how do I be Black and how do I be Muslim? This is the difficult
And you're
part.
an athlete too.
And I'm an athlete.
Like
so this becomes a difficult part because all I'm hearing is what I can't do, but everybody else is doing it.
Right.
So why not?
Right.
So therefore, I'm just going to test the waters just cause, right? And that was the problem. And I think because of, again, going back to the 80s and 90s,
Right.
Islam was taught from a rules based.
Yeah.
And it was taught really quite frankly, also out of fear and protection. It's a love, but it's out of fear and protection. So then now it's like, I'm being coddled and coddled and coddled. I want to go live.
Right.
Yeah.
And we think living is doing what everybody else is doing, not knowing that self-destruction, because we think it's fun.
So what would you say to like young Muslim athletes that are the only one? We don't always know how to reconcile those things.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel like I gotta live more or less, but it's really just doing what everybody else is doing.
Yep. We live in the era of social media.
Mm-hmm.
You can DM anybody.
Right.
And so you can DM a guy, and you can DM me, you can hit me up and be like, hey, bro, I'm struggling.
Yeah.
Holler at me. Or how did you do it? Like, I'm free. I mentor people all the
Okay.
time, right? And so you can reach out to people because you're no longer alone. Like when we were coming up, it's alone. There's nobody you can reach out to. You don't even know of anybody who have taken these steps. For us, it was Hakeem Olajuwon. And we looking at Hakeem Olajuwon, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, and we're like, man, they can do it. We can be like that. But we didn't have direct access to them, right? Whereas now you have direct access to people who have played, people who have done it. And quite frankly, I want to help. Like, I'm your servant,
Absolutely.
right? I'm like flat out, I am your servant if you hit me up. And so like, so I want to help. So if they reach out, I'm pretty sure there's resources there.
No, listen, I told you my son plays sports and you was on it like, yo, what's his Instagram? That's dope.
And so, and I think what it comes down to it too is if you got caught slipping, right? If you get caught up in some stuff, be honest with yourself. Don't continue to lie. Just say, dang, I messed up. And this is the way it goes. Oh Allah, please forgive me.
Mm-hmm.
You ask for forgiveness, and then you try to not do it again. You try. If you fall back into it, oh Allah, please forgive me. And then you try to not do it again. Mm-hmm. And as you're continuing this whole dance, you start to figure out, why do I keep falling into this sin, whatever it may be?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the people I'm hanging around? Is it the places I'm going? Maybe it's something I'm just susceptible to. So maybe I should just not go here or not go there, or not, because man, I can't control myself in this environment, whatever it may be. But that's where mentorship comes into play. That's where we can help each other out. But the fact, how we're talking about the love of Allah, the fact that you still have your soul and your body right now, you still breathing, you got a chance, brother or sister, you got a chance to ask for forgiveness and turn around. So that's the beauty of Allah.
I always
the mercy of Allah.
I give a lot of credit to Muslims because especially black Muslims, because like people are genuinely trying to obey Allah and trying to figure it out. I really empathize with that, So.
Look, there's no ayat in the Quran that says, "Oh, you who believe, be perfect."
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It does not exist. But Allah does says that He loves those who repent. He loves those who seek forgiveness. Allah does honor our effort and our striving. So just like this whole, you got to be perfect and holier than thou, man, just try. Just keep trying and don't lie to yourself. Don't believe your own BS. Don't become susceptible just because everybody's doing it. That's not an excuse, but just try. And as long as you keep trying, just like in athletics, just one step and one step and one step and one step. And then eventually you've done a ton of good and you didn't even realize you did all that. Mm-hmm. So just keep trying, man.
So you played in the league 7 seasons.
Yep.
Did you play all 4 years at Washington?
So I went to Washington State, 5 years at Wazoo, and then 4 years undrafted, 4 years played for the Vikings, went for Hajj in 2012, then came back and played for the Chiefs for 3 years.
And not to mention all the years you played growing up. We've had quite a few athletes on here to kind of talk about like fasting while you're playing, like describe that experience.
We started in my household fasting at the age of 5. You fast to Dhuhr.
Mm-hmm.
Then at the age of 6, you fast to Asr.
Mm-hmm.
Then by the time you hit 7, you start fasting 4 days. Right? Now, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, it's too harsh. This, and that. No. You're teaching just like how we started praying. Hey, you're held accountable for your 5 prayers starting at the age of 7.
Right.
And the reason why is, of course, like we know, okay, when puberty, that's when your books are starting to be written. But now we've been doing it. There's some people who wait until kid hits puberty and say,
10 years
okay,
old.
fast
Mm-hmm.
and, fast and pray all you're 5. And they're like, I got 14 years and not doing nothing. You think I'm just about to start now?
Right.
Right. And so it was kind of built into us. And then so we used to play sports and we used to be like, man, we want to drink some water. Then my mom, Umi, is like, you see this guy right here, Hakeem Olajuwon? He killing the NBA finals and he fasting.
Right.
You gonna fast, but sports is optional.
Right.
So if you want to play sports, you have to fast. And we're like, dang, well, I guess we just have to fast. Right. And that was the thing. Some people today, they're making the fasting optional and they're putting the sports, or some people even taking a test over. It's like, come on, man.
But what kind of feeling did you get, is it like memorable games or memorable times, or is it times that you just felt like you actually gained strength from fasting?
Oh man, there were so many times where I know that Allah was with me. Like I know. I give you an example. My third year in the NFL, year 1, year 2, I was on the chopping block. I played in the league, but it was like week to week.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it turned into 4 years in Minnesota, but it was week to week for 4 years.
Wow.
Right. Sure. And so imagine that level of stress. Right. And so during training camp, there's supposed to be this position battle for who's going to be the starter out of these two guys. I'm over there just trying to keep a job. Right. And I remember fasting, and I'm like, I feel like I'm like, man, this might be something to where I really have to, like, I'm getting lightheaded. They had me at this point, year 1 and 2, they didn't know I was fasting. I didn't tell nobody. Right. Year 3, they found out I was fasting and said like, hey, we can help you. So they want to start monitoring me. So they used to make me, so I used to call it a horse pill. It's this big old white pill, but really it had like a little tracker in it, a little thermometer, so they can track my body heat, because they didn't want nobody to collapse. Right. And there was a guy named Corey Stringer who had collapsed in Vikings training camp before, so they didn't want this happening again. So there was one day I know I was flat out overheating. I'm talking about blurred vision. I'm talking about sweating everything. And I'm like, man, this one's tough. And so they kept trying to come around. I'm like I'm shooing them away, because I'm like, I don't want them to shut me down. I want to keep competing. And I remember I was just like calling out to Allah, like, oh Allah, like I really need help, right? Like, and then one of my buddies, Aaron Henderson, he came over to me and he was like, man, he said, Husain, I don't know how you do it. He said, I'm out here drinking Gatorade, eating energy bars, doing all this stuff. He said, and I ain't got no gas. And I just look up and I just see you running around making plays. And like at that moment, I don't know what it was, but Allah like just gave me a boost of energy. I'm talking about I was flying around, picking stuff off, running down, making tackles. And I leapfrogged all of those guys, and I became the starter in that training camp in which I was fasting. And so it's like, you do things for the sake of Allah, Allah will reward you.
Do you think it like helped you earn the respect of like coaches and teammates and stuff like that? Like just knowing that you were fasting.
Man, absolutely. Like I think a lot of my teammates, because I really don't talk unless people ask me to talk. If you don't invite me in the conversation, I just keep to myself. Right? People really respected the striving to be upright. People really respected my play. And then when they saw me fasting, just the commitment to Islam, they was like, okay, like that, like respect, right? And that was both in Minnesota and in Kansas City, and actually around the league too. People that I meet and run into, they still remember Hamza and I more so for being Muslim than anything we ever did as a player.
Did you get the other like Muslim players reach out to you during the time, or
there was none?
It was.
I was about to say they was the only ones.
It was us.
You got a pick six. You made sujood.
Yeah.
Walk us through like the play.
Yep.
Like what brought you to that, and what you said when you was injured.
Yep. So funny thing, I was actually going through a real tough time. So this is my second year in Kansas City, and I was going through a real difficult time personally, man. To where I just felt like it was just me and Allah. I felt like a lot of things in life was just crumbling around me.
Right.
And so I felt like it was just me and Allah. And so just, you have those conversations with Allah just to yourself. And I was like, oh Allah, if you bless me to score, I'm gonna make a sajda.
Wow.
So literally in my apartment that week, I'm practicing how am I going to make this sajda when I score?
Wow.
I kid you not, right? We go out there. It's a Monday night football game. We're playing the Patriots. They trying to break the noise record.
You playing
We-
Tom.
We come out
Listen,
with
who's the
all
quarterback?
reds.
Just who's the quarterback you playing against?
It's Tom, man.
Tom
He
Brady.
picked Tom off.
Yeah.
Tom Brady.
Stop
Go
playing
ahead.
with-
So we come out in the all reds. So it's like okay,
Yeah.
I got to ball out. So funny thing about that game is the first play of the game, I actually got body slammed.
Wow.
I'm talking about I got trucked bad. So I got to have a meeting with myself, like, okay, we gonna ball out today, or are you gonna tuck your tail in? Like, what you gonna do?
Uh-huh.
So now I was like, nah, we balling there. We had an amazing game, offense, defense, special teams, just all around balling. And fourth quarter, man, Tom got caught looking front side.
Mm-hmm.
I was the free player. I read that thing beautifully.
Right. Right.
Came across, picked that joint off, and then like when I picked it, all I kept thinking was, I got to score.
Right.
Like I got to make touchdown. That's the only thing on my mind.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear nothing. I heard absolutely nothing. I just heard myself talking to myself that Allah kept His promise and it's my turn to keep mine.
SubhanAllah.
And so I zigzag, scored touchdowns, like a 39-yard return. And I crossed the line, slid in the end zone, prayed sajda. And then, just Subhana Rabbi Alila, all praise is due to Allah, the Most High. And then when I got up, then I heard all the noise.
Wow.
And that moment broke the noise record. So even still today,
Yeah.
Guinness World Record for the loudest roar in the outdoor stadium is at Arrowhead, cheering on a Muslim guy making a sajda.
So in 2012,
Mm-hmm.
you playing, like you on a team,
Mm-hmm.
and you decide to, you and your brother, who's also in the NFL,
Yep.
y'all both decide to stop playing to make Hajj.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get to that decision? And well, let's start with how you got to that decision.
Yeah. So 2010, we kind of both felt like we're doing so much and we're doing nothing. So Hamza kept saying, I feel like we're just on a hamster wheel because no matter what we're doing, nothing is changing. We're sending money back home to the parents. We're doing this, we're doing that. And it feels like we're doing a whole bunch of nothing. We're moving real fast.
When you
and not
say
going
nothing
anywhere.
is changing, like
Nothing is changing.
like in your life, financially, like in your families, like you're not having the impact that you want.
Family, financially, it's just like we're supposed to be living the American dream. We're supposed to be the ones who have made it, right?
Because you're in the league.
Because we're in the league, but we living in apartments.
Right.
We're living week to week. We're still like, we're not settled. Everything is unsettling. And at that point, the NFL was kind of like year round. Like now it's a ton of breaks and you could do, it was no breathing.
Right.
So imagine again being week to week, year round, nonstop, right? So 2010, we're like, let's go for Umrah. At the end of the 2010 season, we wanted to go for Umrah. It didn't work for whatever reason. It didn't work. The 2011 season, I was in a contract year. And I was like, man, I'm about to break the bank, right? This is about to be it. Alhamdulillah, that's not what Allah had written for me. I got gifted, and I do say gifted, with concussions, and I ended up being on injury reserve. At the time, I didn't think it was a gift, but I had 2 concussions, and I pretty much went on injury reserve for like the last 7-8 games.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it really, like at that moment, I'm thinking about life, death, career, all kind of stuff going on. I worked so hard to get here. Now all of a sudden I'm sinking into a deep depression. None of these neurologists can tell me anything about the brain or concussions or TBIs. Nobody knows nothing about mental health at this point in 2011.
Wow.
And so I'm being flown out to some of the best neurologists in America. They have no idea what the hell they're talking about, right?
Wow.
And so there was just this one guy, man, and he was like, a lot of people turn to meditation, but you don't need that because you're Muslim and you already pray 5 times a day.
Is this like just a player or a mentor?
No, this is one of the top sports neurologists in America.
Wow.
I'm talking if someone in hockey, the WWE, football, if anybody had a brain injury, a significant one, you go see this guy. And I sat down with him and that's what he told me. people turn to meditation, and he was like, but you don't need all that because you're Muslim. You pray 5 times a day.
SubhanAllah.
And so when he told me that, I was like, man, maybe I've been doing this wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I need to really focus and kind of find that khushu in my prayer.
Right.
So then I was like, okay, let me like really focus. And then we went for Umrah in March of 2012. And so now both Hamza and I are both free agents. And so as we're coming back, we're like, okay, we're going to get into free agency. This agent starts talking to the Vikings again, the Packers, the Eagles, Seattle. I think those are the teams that were really interested. And then, man, I can remember going into a dentist appointment and then coming out. And I'm going in thinking like, okay, where am I going to play at, yada, yada, yada. And then I come out to the news that Junior Seau just committed suicide.
Wow.
And growing up in Southern California,
Junior Seau.
Junior Seau is the guy.
Yeah.
Like like USC to the San Diego Chargers, like he's the guy, you know what I mean? And so to see that news, it hit differently. And so that was something to where I was like, I told my agent, I don't want to talk about any football stuff, so I want to think about life. And I remember the next morning, I used to have this little calendar that that has like different ayats of Quran and hadith and different things. And it was that ayat where Allah says, you know, you may like a thing that's like bad for you, but like Allah knows. Instantly, I knew I wasn't supposed to play football that year. I was supposed to go for Hajj.
Wow.
So I just told my agent, like, I'm going for Hajj. And like Hamza, and I don't know Hamza's individual story, but when I called him, he was like, I feel the same thing. Wow. And so 2012, we didn't play because Hajj was in October. So so that summer during Ramadan, we drove all around America, going and speaking at different masjids. Nobody invited us. We just showed up. We trying to go meet the Muslim Ummah. Like I said, we grew up in our household.
Right.
So we going around, like we really did over 30 masjids in 30 days, all around America in 2012. Then we went for Hajj, October of 2012. And then when we came back, then we started trying to work out and trying to get back into the flow of things. But then in 2013, I got signed to the Chiefs, but Hamza never got re-signed after that. Right. So that effectively ended his career.
How did that trip impact you?
Man, it changed everything. So I really love my time in Kansas City because in Minnesota, it's like when I think about Minnesota, I think about stress.
Right.
It was just stress because, again, I was week to week for 4 years.
Right.
And my family felt unsettled. We were always moving around. Like we were moving from Minnesota, then to go travel back to California to train. You got to go visit family. Then you're doing this, doing that. Like we didn't even really vacation. It was just nonstop stress trying to keep up. But then in Kansas City, it was like, you know, whatever Allah has written is going to happen. So we're gonna go. I'm gonna work hard, but I knew I wasn't in control. So whatever Allah has written, it's going to happen. So it just alleviated the stress part. Right. I know I still got to grind. I got to compete. But if Allah wants me to be here, I'm going to be here. If not, it's not.
So you feel like Hajj kind of changed your perspective on and your outlook?
Complete. Look, man, yeah. There's a lot of people who are breaking their back right now because they're trying to live a life that's not written for them. Mm. If Allah wants you to be a billionaire, it's written. I don't care if you're selling shoestrings or you selling
$1 billion
private jets.
Yeah.
You're going to make $1 billion.
Make $1 billion.
And if he only got written for you that you ain't going to make another cent, you ain't making it. Yeah. And I don't care if you got $1 gazillion in your bank account right now.
Right.
When you really understand and embrace that what's written will come to pass, you stop stressing out. Right? You really stop stressing. You let go and you just say, alhamdulillah, either it was written or it wasn't written.
All right. So you retire
So early 2016.
Early 2016, you retire.
Yep.
After being in Kansas City for 3 years.
Yep.
3 years. How has that transition been for you?
It's been an interesting one because transition is always interesting, right? I've always prepared for transition because I've had the blessing of watching my 2 older brothers.
Right.
And so really, I think a lot of my success is obviously from Allah, but it's also just watching my older brothers. Like I see what they do. If it works, I do it.
Right.
If it doesn't work, I don't do it, or I just tweak something a little bit, and then I try again. Like, look, that's my success.
Yeah, right. It's right because you got an older brother that's in it. How is that relationship like? Having an older brother in the league, you know what I mean, stuff like that.
It was a blessing because it's like Hamza sets the bar, and then my job is to try to get over it.
Right.
And so and that's in everything. So Hamza does something, it's like, okay, now I got to try to do this. Hamza does something, okay, now it just allows me to believe because it's like We grew up together. We shared the same room together. We played video games here. We did everything together. So if he can do it, what's my excuse, right? And so then now, even in times where I didn't believe in myself, it's like, but if Hamza can do it, you can do it too. And then that really helped me a lot.
You guys decided to go to Hajj. The experience of seeing the Kaaba for the first time.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Man, it was overwhelming that, you know, a little bow-legged, ashy, nappy-headed black kid from Pomona, California would be in Mecca at the house of Allah seeing the Kaaba. I didn't think that was possible. I didn't think that was possible, and I didn't think that was written in my story because I didn't even think I was going to be alive at 18. And to be able to do that, it was like, there are miracles that happen in our everyday life. We think miracles are these crazy things with CGI, and no. A miracle is taking this little black kid who didn't think that he was even worthy to walk on holy ground, because growing into SoCal, it's like my blackness is a crime. And then it's like just being Muslim, the belief in one God is a crime here in America, and especially during that time, especially for me, because my name is Husain, so everything was about Saddam Hussein, right? So it's like being a Muslim is a crime, right?
Right.
And so now it's like, whoa, this is miraculous. This is God at work. Man, I fell in love so much to the point to where every year, just out of gratitude, I try to make sure I go back for Umrah every year.
Alhamdulillah.
I don't collect things. I don't care for a bunch of material. So I like nice things, but like
we all like nice things.
I don't have stuff.
Right.
I'm saving my money to go for Umrah.
You wrote a book, and it's Mecca to Medina. What started the book?
So alhamdulillah, man. Last year, Imam Dawood Yassin, he worked with Zaytuna for a long time, taught at Zaytuna for a long time. Beautiful brother, man. And I mean beautiful inside and out. He used to be a supermodel.
Yeah.
He was like, for real, African-American cat, used to be a supermodel, like for real. Accepted Islam in, I think it was in South Africa, while he was on one of his modeling tours, and just boom, devoted his life to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I've known him over the last like 12, 15 years or so, but I haven't really spent that much time. Maybe like we shared space for maybe like an hour or two, right? And so last October, he calls me and then he says, hey, I'm going for Umrah and I want you to come with me. And I'm like, I had went earlier in the year with my wife. So I was kind of like, I made my Umrah for the year. I'm good. Right. And he said, I'm going to walk the Hijrah. I'm going to walk in the footsteps of the Prophet from Mecca to Medina.
Wow.
And I thought about you and I want you to come with me. I was like, I almost started crying while I was driving. I remember I was driving home and I knew that was a blessing from Allah. Right. So I said, I'm in. I said, I don't know what I have to do to move things around, but I'm going. And so kind of long story short, we flew in December. We went out to Mecca. We made our Umrah. And then it was a group of us. It was 6 of us. Over the course of 11 days, we walked. We used some car, but we pretty much walked 300 miles, retracing the footsteps of the Prophet ﷺ, camping in the desert, and just, reflecting on the deen over the course of 11 days.
So whose idea was it to keep a journal?
I started journaling going back to all of the mental health stuff. Right. One of the first things when someone's dealing with depression is to start keeping a gratitude journal and write down what you're thankful and grateful for. Okay. So back in 2011 is when I first started, because I had to get myself out of that dark hole. Right. And the only way to do it is start appreciating things. Right. I'm appreciative of my eyesight. Right. Life would be really bad if I was blind. Right. I'm appreciative that I can run and jump. There's some people confined to a wheelchair. Right. So just being able to write things that I'm grateful for really helped me get out of that dark space. So now when I go, like, you always see me taking notes anywhere, but this journey, I was like, I have to write. I have to have something to write down. Right. And so I was writing. And over the course of the Hijrah, of the journey, I had 150 reflections. So when I got back, I would just take the children to school, and then I would just go and start writing. I would just start flushing out all the different reflection points. And I ended up writing 100 because some of the reflections overlapped a little bit. So I wrote, flushed out 100 reflections. And alhamdulillah, and now I got I'm an author.
Right.
And I wrote this in 30 days.
Wow.
I got back January 12th. This was complete by February 12th.
Subhanallah.
Now it's just editing and all that good stuff that now it comes out this Saturday, which is my 39th birthday. Right. This is the Malcolm X year, knocking on the doorstep. Knocking on the doorstep of manhood.
Big year.
Right.
Major flex.
And this is Allah wrote this in my story. Right. And so so yeah, man, I'm just extremely grateful.
So to kind of give some context, so the Hijra, talk about the Hijra.
So the Hijra. So a lot of times we'll read about the Hijra and it says, the Muslims migrated from Mecca to Medina. Like you just move from one city to the next. Right. Man, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the believers were hunted out of Mecca. Right. And not only were they hunted,
they had to sneak out of Mecca.
They had to sneak out because everybody was an assassin. They put 100 camels on his head. They wanted this man dead simply because he was calling people to the worship of one God and to higher moral standard. That's why they wanted him dead. All right. So first they beat up the Prophet ﷺ and the believers. Then they ostracize them. They make fun of them. They do different things. And eventually we got to kill this guy.
Right.
He just got to go. He just disrupting everything.
Tortured him, tormented him.
Tortured.
Threw rocks at him.
All kind of stuff, right? So then Allah gives them the command. Now you can make hijrah, you can leave. So they're like, he ain't going nowhere. Because now if he leaves, the message leaves with him. So we have to kill the message by killing the messenger.
Right.
And one of the things that's really sad, that really settles in that when you're on this journey, it becomes real apparent, is that it was his family that did this. Uncles, cousins. People always say, the disbelievers or the poly. This is family.
Abu Lahab.
This is family. Uncles.
These
are tribes that are intertwined and
at that time.
related.
It's a much smaller world.
So small.
So it's easy to everybody to know each other, be around.
Everybody's related.
Saw you grew up, and
he's the most loved man in society. He's the most trusted man in society. Everybody comes to him for everything. He's the most honest man in society. And the second he came and said, believe in one God and let's elevate our moral standard, he got to go. Right? Because he's disrupting our way of life. We can't have fun around him. He's disrupting our business because we sell the idols to the unsuspecting people when they're coming in. And so it becomes very apparent that this is a journey of heartbreak. Like walking from Mecca to Medina and then looking back at your hometown and that they want to kill him. And again, in the 100 camels, one camel today is worth $250,000. One camel today is worth $250,000. Imagine what it was worth back then when it was the main method of transportation. Food,
milk, drink, everything.
When it came for, just like work and different things, the value is out of this world. So 100, so everybody's willing to kill him. Right. And so it becomes very apparent. And it also becomes apparent how in Mecca, the ayats of Quran that are revealed in Mecca call people to the oneness of Allah, just a belief in one God, stop worshiping idols, elevate your moral conduct. There's this thing called the afterlife, there's paradise, there's the fire, there's this thing called accountability and judgment day. But then in getting to Medina, it's laws. This is how we do marriage. This is how we do divorce. This is how we rule on this law. This is how we do inheritance, because it became the establishment of the Islamic society. It's real beautiful, man, and it's real transformative. And even the way Allah speaks and reveals different ayats, man. So I was able to flush out again 100 different reflections, and inshallah, I was able to capture the pace and the clarity of the desert, because you can only move when you're walking. You're moving at 2.5 miles per hour. In our day and age, we zipping around 50 miles, 60 miles, 80 miles. We texting people. We in chats all kind of place. We all over the world. You scroll on your social media. You've been in 7 different countries. You experienced 10 different emotions just in a quick 30-second span. And then we go back to doing whatever it is we're doing. The desert is still. It's quiet. It's clear. And something as simple as shade becomes miraculous. There's just more gratitude in finding a cup of water to drink. Because without water, we die.
You die.
And so as we're walking, we're like, we have to find water.
Right.
Right now, we just go, we turn on tap, water. We take it for granted, right? And so like, yeah, man, a lot of simple miracles, something as simple as a sunrise or sunset, right? You're just looking like, man, can no man do that? Can no idol do that? Like, and see it and believe it and witness it and looking at the stars like, nah, there's a creator. And everything goes in command by his will. And so like, yeah, I don't want to ramble on forever, but
Nah, man.
We listening. I mean, it's inspiring because people have done this trip, people have done this pilgrimage so many different times, but they've never done it. I haven't heard anybody do it this way, especially a Black American. Yeah, we haven't heard a story like that.
Was there any experience that you think like you had that was unique being like a Black Muslim?
Me and Imam Dawood, Black, and then we went with one brother. He's Kashmiri American, and then 3 brothers who are Afghan, all from America. And so we're going and we're going through the hijrah. But there was one story in particular. So we're coming around this bend of this mountain, and we see a group of guys. We just see a group of guys. So we all look at each other, and we already know we was coming up on break time anyway. We walked for 50 minutes on and took like a 10-minute break. So we're like, it's almost break time. We about to just go kick it with them. So assalamu alaikum, ahlan wa sahlan.
Yeah.
And then we go. There was a brother with beautiful black skin. I'm talking about beautiful black skin. And he was a shepherd. And I have a picture of him in here. And the way me and him looked at each other, we already
it
knew
was like
time.
the head nod.
Man, like just so in the remotest part of the desert, just so excited to see another Black brother.
Right.
And I'm talking about can't even speak the same language, but we just knew.
Yeah.
That's
fire.
Connection.
And so the brother's name was Baba Rabia. And he let me ride his camel. He kept the camel on. I was feeling good. And then so I wanted to take a picture with him. So I got a picture of him in the book and wrote about him in the book. But it was like, man, you want to just talk about a beautiful connection, because it's like, man, it don't matter what separates us. We family.
Y'all weren't able to talk to each other.
I'm not fluent in Arabic.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I can say I know enough to say Assalamu alaikum.
Right.
My Arabic is أنا أتكلم or لا عربي
Amriki.
أنا أمريكي إنجليزية. That's about it.
I mean, is the book just generally for everybody? Is it for if I'm an athlete, is it going to resonate? If I'm a super spiritual guy, if I'm a Black Muslim, like who do you think everybody can get something from this? I'm
kind of interested to see.
Okay.
I'm kind of interested to see, because not too many people reflect. And so one of the things about reflection is Allah always says in the Quran over and over again, this is for people who reflect, Like if you reflect, you'd understand. So
who really journaling like that?
So I'm really curious to see who gravitates towards this, because I'm writing from the perspective of a Black American male who's Muslim. So do the Muslims latch on because of the in-depth hijrah story of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ? Does a Black man latch on because the vulnerability, the reflection, and the just the striving? Does just men latch on because I talk a lot about my inadequacy of being a man and how I know I have to fulfill these gaps where I'm at, because at 40, there's no more BSing. I can't behave like a 22-year-old or 27-year-old. I'm 40, I'm a man. I got to grow up. Like,
Yeah.
there's no more excuses. So I talk about the needs that I have to feel.
Right.
So do men gravitate towards that? Do women gravitate towards that? Because now there's all these different conversation of what's a man, what's a woman, who's supposed to do this. So is that there? You know what I mean? So I'm really interested to see who picks this up and reads it.
Man, thank you for writing it. One of the reasons why we do this is to highlight like Black Muslim stories from our perspective. There's not a lot of spaces where we're really speaking for ourselves.
Yep.
So, you know, this is major, like to write a book and that voice, your voice is major. So definitely
And
thank
to
you.
be a
Man.
young Black athlete as well.
That's crazy because when we talk about retire, right? When you talk about athletes, retire is a totally different thing. Like, you know, you think retire, you're 65 and you retire.
Right. No.
What's the like when you said I'm retiring from football, how old are you?
So I shut it down at 30.
Wow.
A lot of times, you know, like you said, we think about retirement as 65, this and that. No, that just means that I'm not playing.
You're not
football
playing
anymore.
right.
Because some people are forced into retirement, whether they get
Absolutely.
cut or whether they get injured, or sometimes you just don't got the juice anymore, whatever it may be, or sometimes just like, I've done what I came to do. Alhamdulillah. Let me bow gracefully.
Yeah.
And so there's life after ball,
Right.
And so I think a lot of people don't prepare for that hereafter. And so, you know, that's why I do a lot of transition coaching and just like just trying to help people.
When you look at it from a Muslim perspective, like we always thinking about like this part being the small part, like this part of life being short-lived. And I guess when you apply it to, you know, being an athlete, being a professional athlete, I mean, it's a small window.
For most people, you will be a former athlete longer than you were an athlete.
Right.
For most people.
Right.
And so along the journey, you're just supposed to set yourself up. That's it. That's all you're supposed to do. Network, net worth, health, the way you think, the spaces you can get into. You're just supposed to set yourself up for whatever that next thing is.
It's so beautiful how that goes hand in hand with being Muslim.
Yep.
You really have to reflect on how you navigate this world, you know, your careers, your Islam. Man, that's a beautiful thing. We couldn't thank you enough for coming on here.
My last reflection is a poem. The poem is called Life's Purpose.
Life's Purpose.
Life's Purpose.
Okay.
Don't let the cap fool you. I get better with age. Wisdom flows from my pen because I was raised by a sage. Divine revelations graffitied on my page. A young Black man trying to stay out of a cage. Trying to stay out of a cage, I needed a plan. Raised my hands to the sky and was gifted the Quran. From up above 7 heavens down to the desert sands, Allah sent his guidance to the best of all man. To the best of all man, the light of God came. An illiterate orphan, Muhammad was his name. The truthful and the trustworthy, he didn't chase fame. The ignorance in society, he came to be ashamed. He came to be ashamed and disgruntled at what he saw. A backward society with immoral laws. How could an honored people be seduced and fall? So to the religion of Islam, he started to call. He started to call to a straight path, that's true. Not everyone was excited that he was bringing something new. Converting people into believers, he was able to get a few. With Abu Bakr, Hamza, and Omar, that small pool grew. That small pool grew into a mix of all clans. As the Quran was revealed, it laid out his plan. He was to transform all people the best that he can, from a society of ignorance to a people who understand. To a people who understand, like darkness to light. When he arrived in Medina, the disbelievers picked a fight. Prophet Muhammad stood 10 toes and prayed to Allah all night. Allah sent the angels to establish the Muslim might. To establish the Muslim might now, Medina became serene. You will always be a winner with Allah on your team. Prophet Muhammad perfected character and not to be seen. His purpose in life was to establish the deen. To establish the deen, I realized what life was all about. Belief in the Quran. In my heart, no doubt. Searching for prospects like an NFL scout for the believers of today, a people who are devout. A people who are devout and committed to Salah, who always answer the call, Hayya ala Falah, who obey the Quran and the Sunnah, who send salawat on the Prophet and love dhikr of Allah.
Allahu Akbar.
Man, alhamdulillah.
That's dope. Alhamdulillah.
Bars.
Yeah.
Bars.
I'm ready to snap, yeah.
He's like, really?
Alhamdulillah,
Nah,
yeah, man.
alhamdulillah. Hey,
Oh,
man.
that was beautiful.
It's
Alhamdulillah.
it's awesome, like, just to see the vulnerability, right? Because like I admire people that put out art in their own work, because it's a threshold that you're willing to cross to be vulnerable. I'd be like, I'm good. I get there, I'm like, I'm good. So especially like black men, right?
Yep.
Like a football player, you're the epitome of black strength in a man. So to be able to be vulnerable and talk about some of the things you talked about and put pen to paper, it's black and white, it's not going nowhere, man. I'm appreciative, man. So
That was dope.
get your whole handles, your social media, for the young kids that's trying to figure it out, that want to DM you. Give where we get the book from, and just whatever else you got going on.
Instagram is the best one. I kind of really don't mess with the other ones, but my Instagram handle is Abdullah39. So that's my IG. So just hit me up on that. And then my book is titled Mecca to Medina, and you can find the book at meccatoMedina.com. And I even believe that that's a miracle, that in the history of the internet, nobody took that.
Mecca to Medina.
Like, man, oh, look at that.
Is it TO or the number 2?
TO. I got the one with the number 2 too,
Okay.
but I took that one too. But meccatoMedina.com.
Right.
But that's where you can find the book. Inshallah, it's going to be available starting this Saturday.
This Saturday. Yeah, we kind of lighten up at the end, right? So we got some questions for you, man.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
If you didn't play football, what would you have chose to do as a career?
If I didn't play football, I would have loved to play baseball.
Baseball?
I love baseball.
Yeah.
I love basketball too. But man, if there's one sport that, like, growing up, I still like, man, I just wish we would have signed up as baseball.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You gotta give me a non-sport though.
A non-sport?
Yeah.
Man.
Like when you was a kid outside of sports, was it something like?
Hey man, people wasn't making it.
I got a question for you. From childhood to adult, what's one thing that you would like to accomplish before you leave this world?
Alhamdulillah, I've been able to hit a lot of goals, and so now that I've wrote my first book, I make do it for me. I have a series I want to write, and I want it to be in film, inshallah.
Sure.
Wow, hey, bro.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, make do it for me.
All right. So use the safety.
Yep.
Give me your top safety ever.
Man, one, can I pick 2?
You pick 2.
Yeah.
Ed and Troy.
Thank you.
Right.
I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
Baltimore Raiders. Baltimore Raiders right there.
Ed and Troy, man. They out of this world. Out of this world.
I don't know if this is going to get you in trouble. What was the team you wanted to play for?
The one that paid me. The one that paid me. But I will say this. When I was coming out in 2008, I wanted to play for the Broncos so bad because Hamza played for the Broncos.
Okay.
And the Broncos needed a safety. And they ended up drafting a guy who was in my conference who was not better than me.
Oh, right.
So it pissed me the hell off. Yeah, man. So that would have been dope. But hey, man, a job is a job, man.
Yeah. Hey. Did you ever play against Hines Ward?
Against Hines Ward?
Yeah.
I played against Hines, but that's when I was a special teamer. So we were like, he was.
Hines, I hated your smile your entire career. I hated his smile. My God, that smile was.
Hey, man. Hines was a dog.
He was a dog.
He was knocking people out left and right.
He was a troll too.
Hey, man.
He was a troll in the
all right. You got to respect that, man.
All right, give me your favorite slang word from the city you're from.
Favorite slang word from the city I'm from?
Yeah, Philly known for like unique slang.
Bull.
So you said what?
Bull, John.
From where you from? If I go there, like what can I say to let people know I'm from there?
From Pomona? Say, man, you gonna make me start speaking in a language I ain't spoke out? Nah, man, I really haven't really. I don't know. It just comes
He's a
out at
sophisticated black man.
Yeah, I've
He got
been
a tie
I've been
on,
trying to
man.
work the slang.
got a
You
tie
might be
on.
the first dude to come on the show with a tie on.
With a tie on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My man got.
You know,
yeah.
this is my steez just because of actually there's a beautiful brother who's in Baltimore.
Uh-huh.
But Saphir Robb, he was my he was kind of like when I retired and transitioned out of the league. I was like shadowing him
Okay.
in terms of like business and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
This
And,
is
And he what's up?
No, he's my cousin.
Saphir is?
Yeah.
That's my guy, man. And so I would fly out
Shout out
and
to
I just shadow him. Like
Yeah.
they just show me the ropes.
yeah.
Very
And so
smart,
like
man.
he would have us in I'm talking about we go from in the morning where we're going to dilapidated houses to go fix them up. Then next thing you know, we sitting down with community activists.
Right.
Then next thing you know, we talking we in DC or something, talking to people in the tech industry.
Yeah.
Then next thing you know, we talking with government officials on Capitol Hill. So I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to dress for all of this in one day?
Yeah.
Right? So then the style was developed. I
Yeah.
typically got on jeans, a collar shirt. Normally my sleeves is rolled up.
Yeah.
I got J's on to fit it
Yeah.
because now it puts me in position to be
You
legit
get-
in every
yeah,
situation.
yeah,
so that's
yeah,
just
yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
so,
So we got one last thing. Your go-to food. And you've been around the world. You done seen a lot. You culture, very
Mhm.
cultured. What is your go-to? Put us on to something.
yeah, it's probably something y'all already rock with. So for me, I'm a very simple guy.
Uh-huh.
All right. Give me a cup of mango juice,
Cup of mango juice.
some red beans and rice,
Okay.
Mm.
some jerk chicken,
Yes, sir.
some plantains.
Yes, sir.
All right. He going with the Jamaican,
Yes,
the
sir. He
Caribbean
going with the
food.
Caribbean
and,
food.
and then just give me some banana pudding. And
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
you ain't gonna
Yes,
have no
sir.
problems with me ever.
Hey, man. Husain Abdullah.
Alhamdulillah.
We appreciate you. Thanks for coming out, man. We're going
Episode
to definitely
10.
check out the book, Mecca to Medina.
Absolutely.
Inshallah, man. We wish you all the success.
Yes, sir.
Episode 10, Season 2, Third Party Podcast.
Sit down.